2, 1. And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, but today we are going on about a film that continues in the franchise of what our friend Boris is obsessed about. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the film that you had us go and watch? And what is it?
This time it's the Japanese horror movie Ringu 2, which is a sequel to Hideo Nakata's classic Ringu from 1998. This is an alternate sequel to the first movie because at the same time when the first Ringu movie came out, a sequel also came out titled Rasen, which we did last time. It was my turn. Rasen was based on Koji Suzuki's novel Spiral, which is a sequel to his novel Ring that sparked the whole franchise. Yet, fans of the original, of Hideo Nakata's Ringu somehow disliked Rasen as a sequel to the first movie. I'm not sure why exactly, but I think it was because since they liked Ringu as a horror movie, they seemingly weren't fond of the idea of Sadako's curse being explained in medical terms and being portrayed as a virus rather than a curse, which is what they do in Rasen. So Hideo Nakata, the director of the first Ringu movie, of the 1998 version, it's not really the first one ever made. He made his own sequel titled Ringu 2, which, like I said, is an alternate universe sequel. So it ignores the existence of Rasen completely and continues where the first Ringu left off.
And there are some returning actors,
Oh,
like the guy who played the father of Yoichi. I think Yoichi is the same.
yeah.
The grandfather of Sadako is also the same actor, I think.
Yeah, he actually not the grandfather. He was the cousin of Sadako's mother.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm
so
not sure if the psychic live-in girlfriend of what's his name was the same actress or not. Was she?
Ryuji Takayama and the girlfriend was Mai Takano.
Yeah, was Mai the same actress?
Yes, Miki
Okay, I wasn't
Nakatani.
sure. I wasn't sure
Uh,
because her face looked a little bit more angular.
yeah, all characters who appear in the first movie. Okay, not sure about Sadako. Let's see. Oh, Sadako was played by Rie Ino. So yeah, Sadako is also played by the same actress, and yeah, the characters we get to see once more are Reiko Asakawa, played by Nanako Matsushima, her son Yoichi, played by, where the hell are you? Yoichi, damn it, where is he? Yoichi. Uh, Yoichi was played by Rikiya Otaka. As you said, Takashi Yamamura, Sadako's mother's cousin, played by Yoichi Numata. We also get Ryuji Takayama as a ghost, played by Hiroyuki Sanada. Y, played by Miki Nakatani, as we already said. Wasabi Kurahashi, the friend of Tomoko, who from the first movie, the first girl who died, and her friend who witnessed her death, played by Hitomi Sato.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think that's all when it comes to recurring characters.
Okay. What does IMDb say about the film?
Oh yeah, it says directed by Hideo Nakata, as already mentioned. The writers are Hiroshi Takahashi, who is the script writer, and Koji Suzuki is also credited as a writer, probably because this movie was somewhat loosely still based on the novel Spiral, but not very much. And yeah, the synopsis it says Reiko takes Yoichi into hiding where her son begins to display frightening powers. Meanwhile, Mai Takano and the authorities begin a desperate search for them as the mysterious ring curse spreads.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
is this the first time you guys watched this movie, and what were your first impressions? And let's say ladies first, so let's start with Tammy.
Yeah, it was my first time watching it. I don't know, it was all right. It just, I thought there would have been a little bit more scare scenes than there were, and it, um, I think it was like the one before too, kind of slow. So it was hard to like totally focus on it because it's like, okay, come on, it's okay, come on, okay, what are we
Ah,
gonna do? So I mean, it was all right. I just, you know, I, it was like the last, I say like half an hour was just like, oh wow, there's stuff going on, you know. So
well, yeah. Uh, I can understand why you would say that.
Well,
Uh,
there's not that much of an investigation going on, or really all that much. I mean, it's the reporter that's left with the footage that it starts with, which I'm sure you'll get into in a moment. But um, he does like a little bit of investigating, but for the most part, it's Mai who kind of like uh, keeps seeing Yoichi and um, kind of keeps the film going with her psychicness and the things that she sees and um, honestly it's the other people like um, it's Yoichi and what was it that friend that saw the original friend die and
uh,
so on and so forth that kind of bring the film forward. I mean the police officer that's involved, he kind of nudges it forward. The doctor that's involved, he kind of nudges it a little bit further, and then of course you got the background of which I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more. The cousin who to the mother who uh, tries to end it all by giving her to Sadako's body to the sea. I mean,
yeah.
there's definitely a lot of small things going on. It's just it was kind of a lazy way of going about it. I feel, but there is stuff that does. There's three moments that I'm sure I'll get into later that I thought were cool. You know, there is some restock. There's some stock footage that is used from the first film that's in here, which is obviously some of the video images from the found footage tape. You know, so
Oh, yes.
and the symbols that were used throughout. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it's interesting in the franchise, and you got to see a little bit of Yoichi possessed. So,
Uh, yeah, which in turn was probably the basis for the American, the Ring 2, but we will get there much later down the road.
yep.
Um, yeah. Is that it, or do we have anything else to add
That's
to
pretty
your?
much it. I mean, it is a slower movie. It's not as slow as the one we watched before. But there are some things that go on here, and um, I think the biggest thing that I thought was interesting was the children's limbo cave uh,
Oh
towards
yeah.
towards the end, which I thought was an interesting aspect, which seemed like it was like an added bonus that like you never got to see in the original film when the people came to the island and found out about Sadako and the mother and the father. And honestly, while they were in the children's limbo, it was mildly suggestive who the father was. So, um,
Uh,
because while what's her name, Mai was in the cave, she was like, "Who
y-
is Sadako's father?" And the cousin is standing behind her, like, you know. So,
uh, wait, you mean you are trying to say that the cousin is Sadako's father?
possibly because he's the one who like showed her this cave. So, and the fact that he's also the one who feels so guilty to send her body off into the sea, which I'm sure we can get into, but that was my thought process.
Wow, you see that's an interesting thought because I have never heard an interpretation like this before. Uh, Officially, in the novel, Sadako's biological father is Heihachiro Ikuma, uh, this psychologist or whatever he was, who was performing the experiments with Sadako's mother. But
Okay, so this psychologist that is performing the experiments on Yoichi is also supposedly supposed to be the one who performed experiments on the mother.
no, the one who was doing the clairvoyance experiments with Sadako's mother in the past, in the
Okay,
uh,
it's been several different people who have been Sadako's father in the films, so it points
true.
fingers in different directions. I mean, one moment it's Sadako's father or grandfather or the doctor and involved. It's never quite, I don't know, one
Uh,
person.
in the movies, in Nakata's movies, I think it is implied that Sadako was conceived by supernatural means, that Shizuko, her mother, was impregnated by some supernatural entity that she got in contact with through the ocean or something like that. And in the novel, what happened was Shizuko extracted a statue from the ocean of some historical person by the name of Eno Ozunu, whoever that was. But apparently that statue had some supernatural properties. I think it was possessed by some supernatural entity or something like that. And when Shizuko extracted that statue from the ocean, I think, if I understood the novel correctly and if I remember correctly, that supernatural entity messed with her DNA and implanted a part of itself in her. So when so Shizuko got impregnated by Heihachiro Ikuma, who is Sadako's biological father, but Sadako ended up having more DNA of this supernatural entity than of her biological father. It's a
Okay.
little bit convoluted, but yeah, in the movie they implied that the entity from the ocean is her biological father, and that Heihachiro Ikuma is just the man who raised her as a daughter.
Okay. Well, what
Uh,
were your thoughts on the film? I know you got ours.
yeah, sorry for rambling. There is still quite a bit of a ring nerd in me.
Mhm.
uh, So my thoughts on this movie was unpopular opinion, but well, most fans of Japanese horror consider this a better sequel to the first movie than Rasen. In my opinion, Rasen is a better sequel than this one. I found this one a lot more forgettable, to be honest. It's not entirely bad, but to me personally, it was not as good as Rasen. Of course, this is not the first time I saw it. In 2012 and 2013, I think I watched it at least 3 times, maybe more, not sure. So now I rewatched it for the purpose of this discussion. Actually, I watched it a week ago, since that was when we were supposed to have it. So one thing I think this movie lacks is a convergent plot line. Like it somewhat feels like the director was just tying the loose ends left from the first movie and patching up a plot from what he had, and like there is not one main overarching plot going throughout the whole movie. Like at first we have these multiple things being investigated at the same time, like the disappearance of Reiko Asakawa, the death of Ryuji Takayama, and whatever happened to Sadako in the well, how she supposedly survived 30 years in the well. So
Well,
those,
I think this is the first movie that actually um, hints at the fact that she had to have been alive for the
uh,
entire 30 years.
yeah, yeah, that's you won't get that in any other version of the story. That's really strange, and I'm not sure that part really doesn't make much sense to me, especially since they didn't elaborate much more into that. See, that's what I'm talking about. Here they introduce a subplot like she supposedly survived 30 years in the well. How? It's never explained how. The the
I mean,
focus
how they
shifts.
figured that out.
Yeah, that okay. Maybe they could figure that out by they have the bones, so they could perform an autopsy and determine the approximate time of death. But yeah, that still doesn't explain how she supposedly survived 30 years in the well. But that topic is not even explored much further. We end up, all the focus eventually goes to the subplot of Yoichi being possessed, and Mai trying to exorcise Sadako from him. So yeah, all these things that appear relevant at the beginning of the movie lose their relevance later on. So in the end, it feels like I don't know, like not really much has happened throughout the whole story, and then yeah, okay, we do get some good scares with this a character named Okazaki, who is unique to this movie, and he ends up dealing with a ghost of his own. So that is a more interesting subplot, but we will get into that.
Are you talking about the old man who is apparently the cousin to the mother who comes
No,
in and
his name is Takashi. I'm talking about this guy with the black hair who usually appears in this orange red shirt, who used to work with Reiko Asakawa, and
okay, that guy.
yeah, that's Okazaki. Uh, he is
No, I was talking about the guy who comes in, looks at the body of Sadaka,
oh
and he sees the hair come out just a little bit.
yeah, that's Takashi Yamamura, the cousin of Sadako's mother. Yeah, we do get a little bit. Does get a little bit of a story arc, but yeah, this whole part about Sadako's corpse was weird. Like they put some quite a bit of focus on this reconstruction of Sadako's face, which didn't serve much purpose for the plot aside from that face appearing on Sadako's ghost in the final in the culmination of the movie.
At least they
Other
somewhat mention spiritual photography, if he, at least when it comes to the doctor, because there is a photograph that was made of the girl, and there's this like spirit like that's like appears in the photo with her.
uh, yes, yes, that's also a kind of interesting part. Like both this movie and Rasen try to explain Sadako's curse in more scientific terms in a way, but in Rasen it's explained in terms of a virus, medical stuff, and so on. And in this movie, it's explained in terms of energy. Like this doctor says, it all basically comes down to energy. Now the question is, in Rasen, it's very much confirmed that what they're dealing with really is a virus. While in this case, yeah, the doctor does talk about energy and all that, but it's left up to interpretation whether it really is energy or it's if it's maybe a ghost after all, and maybe the whole energy talk was just the doctor underestimating Sadako as an enemy. That's left up to interpretation and discussion for this movie.
Well, let's get into the plot.
Ooh, yeah, sorry, me rambling again. Yeah, at the beginning, as you have already said, we get Sadako's body being retrieved from the well, and her uncle Takashi is called to identify her, and we get to know Detective Omuta, who informs him that, as we have said already, Sadako apparently survived 30 years in the well. And yeah, we get this horror effect of Sadako's hair apparently coming out. So, what do we think about that moment?
Tammy, what did you think about that moment? You're the one who saw it first.
Oh, when hair?
The hair extensions appeared.
Yeah.
Did you think
I
that was
was
weird?
just I was just looking at it the way he was looking at it, like, oh wow.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, I was I was not really too surprised. Okay, maybe I was somewhat wondering why she would suddenly hunt that guy since we didn't really see him do that much wrong to her. I mean, he didn't even watch her tape or anything like that, and it's not like he killed her or anything. But okay, apparently he was guilty of something. Um, so yeah, then we get yeah, the remains are returned to Takashi, and he leaves the coffin in the ocean, giving Sadako some sort of a burial. Uh, oh, yeah, so his guilt is he blames himself for Shizuko's suicide, for Sadako's mother's suicide. He thinks this is his way of breaking free of his guilt. Yeah, apparently he blames himself because I don't know, he kind of pushed her to go with who would become Shizuko's husband, Heihachiro Ikuma, who was performing those clairvoyance experiments with her, which which resulted uh, in the audience calling Shizuko a fraud and pushing her to end her life. Uh, so yeah, I guess that's what Takashi is guilty of. But yeah, then we get the second subplot that's somewhat investigated, which is the disappearance of Reiko Asakawa. No, not that yet. First, we get the part about Ryuji Takayama's death, and yeah, the oh shit. Uh, I'm sorry, my computer is acting up. I've just lost my Wikipedia page. Give me a moment to open it again. History, uh, three tabs, restore. Okay, so yeah, then we get the then we see why Takano. At least I think that's the next scene. So she was Ryuji Takayama's assistant. She is grieving his death because it's implied there was something more going on between them aside from just business stuff. Uh,
Yep.
uh,
But they also have things in common.
oh yeah, like they both had these psychic powers, which is why Ryuji was supposedly the only one who truly understood why. Uh, and
And oftentimes it's said that they have the same power, and sometimes it's a different power.
uh, sorry, when is it a different power? I kind of forgot that.
There was a different power with her and touch.
Oh yes.
I think when she touched people, she could see certain images in one of the movies, and then uh, Takayama, he actually could see like events of the future.
Yeah,
She
I
seemed to
think,
exactly.
have that power
or
somewhat in this one, because when she touched the girl in the hospital, she saw a whole. She saw things. When she was holding her hand in the TV break room in the hospital.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
So
I feel like sometimes her powers are different than Takayama's, like
Oh
only ever so slightly.
oh okay. Yeah, we
Hers are
didn't see
more
it.
hands-on. Takayama, I do believe that he was able to see things just by being in the presence of people. She had to go and
Yes.
touch things.
Who? Yeah, yeah. There was a moment in the first movie when Takayama saw Sadako when she wasn't really there.
So I feel
Yeah.
like his was just ever so mildly a little different.
Who? Yeah. Yeah. I think I see what you mean.
But it has been mentioned even by Mai that they had similar uh, powers. So it's kind of like it draws a fine line between similar powers and differences.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not like their powers have to be exactly the same. For them to understand each other, I mean, it still makes them more similar to each other than the rest of the
Well,
world.
and Mai was actually able to telekinetically give a message to Yoichi, and he listened to her. When
Who?
later on in the hallway, and when he bent down to tie his shoe, she gave him a message telekinetically, and he ran.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
think that Takayama ever did anything like that.
Uh, no, but I think. I don't think Mai could do that just with anyone. I think she could do it with Yoichi because he was Takayama's son, so he also had some powers.
True, but we still never saw that happen with Takayama.
Like, why send him a message like that? Yeah, yeah, we didn't see that. Huh.
So, but anyways, let's continue.
Interesting. Uh, since it was also implied that he and Mai were having sex, it must have been interesting if they were doing that while communicating that way.
Well, yeah, but then again, I think it was also mentioned in one of the other movies that whenever they touched each other, they didn't experience any psychicness whatsoever. It's like they could
Huh.
be one with each other.
Who?
It was only to other people that they could experience these powers.
Who? Interesting. Now I'm not sure exactly in which movie that was mentioned, but
I think it was
I rem-
Mai who mentioned it to whoever was investigating the story.
in this movie,
No,
in
in another movie,
Rasen,
probably Rosin.
who? Yeah, I see. Well, in the novel, it was said that Ryuji and Mai were really close, but that there was nothing going on between them. Uh, if you remember, in the novel, there were throughout the story there were indications that
They were
Ryuji was
friends
a
with benefits, sort of.
uh, Well, that was what was implied, but in the end, there was the twist that Ryuji never really had sex with Mai because
No, but it has been implied that in order to transfer the so-called virus, Mai had to be impregnated.
uh, yes, but she got in the movie Russell, she got impregnated by Ando, not by Takayama.
Correct.
Yeah. So, okay, I won't ramble about the novels now.
So
uh,
where are we in the plot line? Oh, uh, so we have been introduced to Mai comes to the uh, uh, comes to the newspaper reporter looking for Reiko, because Reiko is the newswoman uh, who was investigating the story in the first place, and
yes.
and then the guy who is left with the story and the footage is starting to investigate the people involved on his own. Um, and there is a young girl who evidently is in the circle of friends that knew about the tape, and he is interviewing with his cameraman that young girl, and she knows about the tape, and she also knows a way to possibly copy the tape for him. But she ends up ultimately watching the tape herself, and also calling the dude later on and saying that she destroyed her copy, but he needs to show the tape to someone else because she doesn't want him to die.
Yeah.
Which that is going on in the background, but there also is a moment where he's reviewing the tapes later on, and it's like he sees the possession of Sadako over the girl. Um, like he sees the evidence of the curse in her face. You know,
Oh, yeah. Well, what actually happened there was that girl, Kana was her name. Uh, she watched the tape and yeah, she made a copy for Okazaki, and he was supposed to watch it for her to survive. But he lied to her that he had watched it, so she died, and that's why she started to haunt him through that recording that he couldn't erase, where she became a ghost similar to Sadako.
which is why
Although,
he was completely deranged by the end of the film, and you we saw him basically in the mental hospital at the end of the film,
yes,
which
yes.
we don't see him show up to the island where the children's limbo is, and during the doctor experiment. So he is obviously gone insane through this whole process, and even Mai tells him he should stop investigating at one point in time, and I think that's
But
when he didn't become part of the you know main plot anymore.
I didn't see him going insane until Kana's death, until she emerged from that recording and did whatever to him. We didn't even see what exactly.
No, we didn't. All we know is that he was in the mental hospital at the end, and they took a picture of it of him for the case files, and the nurse is looking at the picture like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But they don't even show the picture. So, which is
Yeah,
useless.
but uh, what do you say? Which is
Useless. I wish they would
well,
have at least showed the picture and what he looked like.
well, it would have been interesting if they had showed the picture, but after that we saw him alone in the room and Kana's ghost appearing next to him. So
True.
it's implied that she appeared on the photo with him, and that was what shocked that nurse. Just like earlier when they were taking photos of Masami, what was appearing next to her was that guy from Sadako's videotape with a towel over his head. Uh, so I guess it was implied that Kanae appeared next to Okazaki here.
Yep.
Now an interesting thing I'd like to say here is the idea here is that Okazaki lied to Kada and that he had watched the tape and that she was saved, but apparently he didn't, so she died, and her starting to haunt him and driving him insane, that was supposedly his punishment for that lie. But on the other hand, uh, during that experiment at the hospital when they were trying to exorcise Sadako's energy from Masami and they were videotaping it, and then images from Sadako's videotape
Well,
began
yeah.
appearing on the screen
The
until
doctors,
my
the doctor's theory was that it was just fear, and fear it can be eliminated.
oh yeah. So Okazaki was there during that experiment, and he actually did see a part of Sadako's videotape through that imagery. He would have seen all of it if Mai hadn't destroyed the screen.
Well, yeah, she went
So,
psycho, didn't she?
sorry, what?
She went psycho, didn't she? On that
Yeah,
videotape machine.
Psycho or Spudow. Yeah, so Okazaki actually did see a part of the cursed videotape. So when Kadai asked him if he had seen the tape, he said he did, and so maybe he didn't even realize that that he was lying. Maybe he thought that he had seen enough for her to be saved.
The only difference was we didn't hear the goblins and brine thing throughout the entire thing. So
Oh, yeah, Frolicking Bride, Goblins Be died. I think it was said later on when Mai was in the well with Yoichi before Takayama's spirit appeared. At
yep.
least I think, at least I think we heard that phrase in that scene. Uh, so yeah, where were we? Uh, yeah, following the sudden death back to the beginning of Reiko Asakawa's ex-husband Ryuji Takayama and Reiko's father Koichi. So yeah, both in this version and in Rasen, Reiko's father doesn't make another copy and he ends up dead. And yeah, the police find his corpse. We also see why at Reiko's place she finds the videotape burned in the bathtub, and apparently it makes her throw up. Uh, so it's kind of left up to interpretation if that's just physical nausea caused by the mere sight of a piece of plastic in that condition, or if it was a reaction to all the evil energy that she is supposedly sensitive to. Uh, and yeah, as we have said, Mai is seeking the answers about Takayama's death. Yeah, she gets to know Okazaki, who we have mentioned, and yeah, what? It says why senses Reiko's father died the same way as Ryuji. Mm, okay. We have already mentioned about Okazaki and Kana, which is apparently what's going on next.
Yep. And we know that they died in that same open mouth, like fright look.
Uh, yeah, that's how every victim of Sadako's videotape is supposed to die. They kind of forgot that detail in Rasen when we saw Takayama's body and he had a normal facial expression.
I also
Uh,
think that later on, when they do the experiment in the pool, there are several things that could be interpretive. Like you see a bunch of like uh, faces appear uh, in the pool, which make me think like of all the lost souls that came to the children's window.
whew.
Because evidently that's where all the unwanted ones come to die.
Uh, oh yeah, there was something said about that Shizuko took Sadako there when Sadako was a baby. I don't know, maybe she wanted to get rid of her, but ended up coming home with her after all, if I remember correctly. Like I said, I watched this movie a week ago. I didn't rewatch it now. I just read the plot on Wikipedia.
Well, and I'm
I
sure he's seen it enough times to know the plot line.
Well, apparently I do remember enough regarding how much I'm rambling here. But
But
yeah,
we do get him. Okay, so Yoichi is appearing to Mai throughout most of the film.
uh, yes, even before she meets him. So yeah, apparently he is somewhere around, but they haven't physically found each other yet. But apparently they can sense each other telepathically or whatever because of her having powers and him being Takayama's son and also having powers.
I
I
know
guess it.
Yoichi appears when what's her name asks her to help her.
Uh, Sorry, man. Who asks her to help?
The girl that's locked up in the hospital that
Ah,
scene.
oh yeah, Wasabi. Uh, yeah, yeah. In that moment, Mai has a flashback of seeing a vision of Yoichi earlier, and that's when she figures out what words Yoichi was sending to her. That he was also saying "help me" or something.
I thought it was interesting at that point in time that all of the patients were affected by that incident in the hospital, and also the fact that you know the TV showed the well, and then Sadako was climbing out of it, and then no one mentioned the fact that Sadako was climbing out of the well afterwards.
Interesting point. Yeah, like even though those people were all mental patients, they did all witness the same, so there should have been more word about that. and none of them even had any permanent consequences from it, which I don't know how much sense that
Well,
makes.
yeah,
Since
especially since later on, Mai's all freaked out that no one should see the well because after you see the well, you die. Right?
huh, uh, yeah, yeah, you do see the well before you die. Sadako climbs out of it and out of the TV.
Well, yeah. Well, once you've seen the bit in the video where the well appears, you're supposed to die. Well, none of those patients died, so I guess you've got to see the whole film in order for the curse to actually be enacted.
Yeah, or maybe they would have died if this broadcast, to call it so, hadn't been interrupted before Sadako could come out of the screen. Or, or who knows? Maybe, okay, not sure, maybe they wouldn't have died since they hadn't watched the whole videotape, but maybe they would have gone even more insane, like Masami, who saw Sadako at the moment when her friend died.
I can see that.
Yeah, this movie leaves a lot of unresolved what if questions. Mm,
Yeah, a lot of questions that seem to lead to other avenues. It definitely leaves you in kind of a conundrum.
definitely. Oh, so yeah, we have already mentioned, yeah, Wasabi. Why and Okazaki contact her, they find out she is now mute and has a phobia of televisions after witnessing Tomoko's death. Yeah, wondering why. And yeah, we get to know the doctor, who we have already said quite a bit about, Dr. Oisho Kawajiri. Uh, he is Masami's doctor and a paranormal researcher who, as we have said, he tried to expel this psychic energy within Masami through experimentation. We saw those experiments with water that he was performing. Uh, so yeah, when Mai meets Sadako, when Mai meets Masami, I guess it's Mai's psychic powers that make it possible for Sadako's energy within Masami to manifest itself on the screen. At least that's how I interpreted it. Uh, who Mai steps out for some air, encountering Masami, Masami's presence causes Sadako to materialize on television and terrify the patients. Yeah, we have processed that part. Masami tries to channel her fear into psychic vessel. Why? Yeah, who realizes Yoichi has been trying to do the same thing. Yeah, we have already said that part. But yeah, then Mai finally finds Yoichi and Reiko in a shopping mall. So, what do we have here? As we have said, as we find out, Yoichi is half possessed by Sadako. He has been mute since the whole thing happened, since his father and grandfather's death. And yeah, his psychic abilities intensified apparently because of Sadako's energy within him. Ooh, Reiko asks if Kawajiri can help. So they return to the hospital, and Mai discovers that Okazaki has accidentally led police to Kawajiri, who has informed them of Mai's contact with Reiko. So, what do we think about that part?
Tammy, what did you think about that part? We haven't heard from you in a while.
True.
Tammy, you're muted. Okay. What was your question again, Boris?
I said this part where we finally get to know, where we finally get to see Yoichi and Reiko, and Mai makes contact to them, and we find out that Yoichi has been mute, and that this doctor Kawajiri can apparently help. So I was asking, what do we think about that part? And yeah, Tammy, where are you? You are as mute as Yoichi.
I'm here, but
Okay.
I'm going.
What
But
do you?
I'm going to be leaving because I have to get ready for work.
All right.
Oh
Well,
damn.
could you at least tell what you thought of the introduction of Yoichi and the whole doctor thing and the energy and whatnot?
Um, I felt I felt sorry for Hoichi because I don't think he's understanding what he's capable of doing. You know,
Okay. And did you want to go ahead and tell what your favorite character was and your favorite scene and what you thought about production overall?
and and music, yeah, I thought the same.
um, I always
At least,
forget how to pronounce their names.
well,
Um,
Yoichi is
Uh,
the young child.
no, not him.
you can
Oh,
say who they are. I will say the name.
The lady, the the main character, the lady.
mine, my,
Why?
Huh?
my.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's your favorite character.
Yep. And my favorite scene is um that whole during that it's not really an experiment. I guess it's an experiment. You know, at the pool, that whole thing that goes on at the pool. You know how they, because the waves start, and then the wooden box. Her body is in that wooden box, and then the guy goes out there, and then the doctor's like under the spell, and then all of a sudden you see them. They're actually in the
The
well.
nurse gets zapped by the equipment.
Right, but then they're in the well.
Spudo.
So yeah, that whole
Well,
that
yeah,
whole thing was really.
and
I thought that was
Yoichi
cool.
is trying to learn to just keep going.
So yeah, that whole scenario I thought was really cool.
Okay, alrighty. Well, hopefully you have a good nap And I guess you're going to be next.
Yeah, you already know which one
Did
I
you have
was
a
picking.
choice already?
Yeah, we already talked about it.
Which one? I know we talked about it, but uh, tell the audience, unless you want to keep it a secret.
You can go ahead because I forgot how to pronounce it again.
What was it about?
Cyril or Cyrano or
Oh, Cyrano. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Uh, it's a modern day musical based on a story that's been told several times before, but Peter Dinklage or from Game of Thrones is in it. So,
Oh,
alrighty,
uh,
well, try to have a good afternoon, and hopefully you have a good night of work.
Okay. Bye.
bye. Good luck with work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now the children can have fun.
What's that a reference to?
Nothing. Just uh, where are we? I know we're not exactly at the experiment just yet, but
Oh,
uh,
yeah, we are at the part where, yeah, returning to the hospital, Mai discovers that Okazaki has accidentally led the police to Kamajiri, who has informed them of Mai's contact with Reiko. Uh,
yep. And
so,
the detective has some interesting questions to Mai, specifically about Sadako and what she knows about them,
uh,
doesn't he?
uh, yeah, what did he ask again? I can't remember that part now.
Oh, he was asking whether he knew about the mother and Sadako and anything that had to be, and then he went into like gory details about how she'd been stuck in the well for like 30 years and tried to describe it just to scare her a little bit, and she kept telling him no, and then she finally told him to stop, because she really didn't know much about all of that, you know.
Oh, and she was speaking to him in private at home, right?
Right.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Now I somewhat remember. Mm, but yeah, the way she was acting, she did kind of make herself look as if she was hiding something.
Which in I think Rosin, she was actually sitting in the police station, and that police sergeant was actually like really yelling at her, like he thought that um, she knew something and wasn't telling him anything in Rosin.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In
That's
fact, I
another
actually thought
thing.
the police sergeant was actually kind of like mean. One thing I thought that was kind of interesting uh, earlier on is when the landlord actually let them into Reiko's apartment. I don't think it happens here in the United States that reporters are allowed to go into crime scenes or uh, allowed easily into properties without people's permission, you know.
Well, cool. Okay, yeah.
And
No,
then the police called on the phone, and then they went to the crime scene like they were police detectives. It's like, that this guy is a reporter only, right? That
yeah.
it doesn't seem like the director is like understanding. I know he has to make them do these things in order to follow, you know, everything that's going on. But he's treating a newspaper reporter like an actual detective, in a sense.
Interesting. I didn't pay attention to that, but yeah, you're right.
Well, I kind of paid attention to it while I was actually watching it again. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, we were just after the hospital scene. You were talking about the police investigation. That's where you are.
Oh, yes. So, huh, let's see. Mm, why Okazaki and Detective Omuta observe Kawajiri's experiment to exorcise the psychic energy from Wasabi by projecting her mental imagery onto a blank tape. Now, we have
Okay.
already discussed that, but oh, did you have anything to say about it?
Well, the energy itself, that was they were trying to uh, eliminate fear, or as like, well, the doctor Az Azakawa, or whatever his name is,
Sorry, wait, the doctor.
the doctor that's involved. Well, he was
The,
explaining the psychic energy, especially since the psychic energy from the girl was emitting this energy to dampen this uh, towel, this not towel, but this paper with water that was dipped into scientific glass of some sort. I forget what they
uh,
call them things.
yeah, I don't know that terminology either. But yeah,
But
apparently, after a possessed person focuses on water and then they uh, dip a piece of paper in that water, the water consumes a much larger portion of the paper than before the person did that.
yep, and right after that, that's when they go into watching a little bit of the tape, which they see the mother of Sadako looking in the mirror, and then you see uh, another mirror show up with Sadako in it, and very minimally, but um, they're only able to watch only like a little bit of the tape before something happens to the girl, and we don't know what happens to the girl. In fact, I don't think we see the girl after that instance. So
Who true?
I'm assuming that something bad really happened to the girl.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if in this movie they maybe intended to imply that the girl was dead, but she is. I know that she is not dead because many years later, in 2019, they made another sequel to this movie. It's called Sadako from 2019, not to be mixed up with Sadako 3D from 2012. This Sadako from 2019 is a new sequel set in the same storyline with Ringu too, and Masami appears there as an older woman. Well, a
Well, that's
middle-aged
because you
woman.
recognize it as part of the Ring franchise. Uh, the initial Ring franchise is Ringu, Ringu 2, Rasen, and I would have to say Ringu 0. If
Yes, yes. And then there was a long pause with the making of Japanese Ring movies until 2012.
that's if you acknowledge them.
Sorry, what do you mean? You,
I'm just
you,
saying, as saying, isn't Hideo Nakata only involved in the Ringu 1 and 2?
uh, and I think he also directed Sadako 2019. Let me check. Uh, Sadako 2019, director Hideo Nakata, yes.
Okay, so he did direct one more, so that would be his trilogy. But these this quadrilogy here is like the main franchise. if
Oh, maybe. Uh, are you saying that?
if if the general public acknowledged the rest of them, then there would be a whole entire box set with all of them combined in it. So
Ha ha! Ah, yeah, there were some recently released box sets with only these old Ring movies. Yeah. Huh, interesting thought.
I would
Well,
say that many of the ones that you're mentioning are separate extensions of the franchise. Directors that well, except for the Sadako 2019, I wouldn't mind that one like involved in a later box set or whatnot.
oh yeah. Did you watch any of these newer Ring movies, Japanese Ring movies from 2012 on?
Ah, but anyways, sorry. Our Diego just got picked for a paw calendar.
For
But
what?
a paw calendar. Tammy
Ah,
actually inducted him into a contest and he won, I guess. So,
oh, nice.
but in any case,
Congratulations.
thanks.
Uh, you're welcome. Uh,
But
I was just asking you if you say you don't acknowledge any of these newer Japanese Ring movies as parts of the franchise, did you watch any of them and didn't like them or
it's not
something?
that I don't like them. I just, I guess I kind of think like some other people. If uh, if they aren't inducted into a box set of any other kind, then they're not really part of the original Ringu franchise. Although I know that there are uh, independent productions that uh, are made in the vein and in the world of the Ring, and I wouldn't mind if that Sadako 2019 was inducted into like a later box set or whatnot. But what was it?
Whew.
Arrow released the original trilogy in something, and then Shell Factory released the American version onto a box set, which I know you were asking me about, which
Yeah.
I did not uh, acquire that yet. So I know I've got Ring 1, 2, and Rings myself separately on DVD.
Yeah. Indeed. I was asking about those new releases because one of them contains some documentary that I don't have on anything else, and I am kind of interested in it. But
Well, you'll probably have to eventually get a copy of it for yourself before it goes out of print. So,
maybe.
but I know eventually I might get around to owning that. I've got quite a few Shout Factory releases of certain things. Like I know I've got the Fly collection, and I've got the Omen collection, and I think I've got the Critters collection that I think were Shout Factory releases. So, um, other than that, um, let us continue along further in this film. Uh, where are we? We were heading down the detective path.
Uh, yeah, so there was the experiment that went wrong. Mice put out the screen and destroyed the recording.
Yep.
Uh, so the detective tortures Y into revealing Reiko and Yoichi's location. Uh, and whew, this is forcing Y to view Kana as fear contorted corpse. Okay, I remember why saw the corpse, but I don't remember her being forced to see it. But
Well, yeah, she was forced to see Kanawa's corpse, and
sh-
she saw the face of Kanawa in that contorted scream that she was left with, because he was trying to hunt down where Reiko and Yoichi were because they're part of the investigation, you know. But and they do find them, and then that's about when I mentioned that Mai actually uh, telekinetically messaged um, Yoichi to run, and then there's a flashback. Well, it's not exactly a flashback,
uh,
but
vision, I don't know,
starts to cross.
hallucination.
Reiko actually starts to cross the street, uh, and on the other side, uh, she sees her father, who turns and basically tells her, "We did not do anything to save Yoichi from this, did we?" Basically,
Yeah, I think he also said something about the Yoichi no longer being Yoichi.
uh, yeah, and that's when we see that Yoichi is sitting across the street, watching as his mother has been hit by a car or a vehicle, and
Uh,
he makes the blood pool towards him.
yeah. And to me
Now,
personally,
I
that's
believe in Rosin, Yoichi and his mother are already dead, or
yeah,
have
yeah, both of
they
them.
they are involved in a car crash, and we don't ever see them.
Exactly. Uh, that's more or less how it happens in the novel too. Okay, not exactly like that, but in the novel, Kazuyuki Asakawa, who was turned female for the movies, uh, yeah, he also has a car crash because he sees his wife and child being dead in the car, even though he had copied the tape. So that's what distracts him, and that's why he gets into an accident. But after that, he is left in a catatonic state after seeing his wife and child dead. But then Ando gets to see him at the hospital, but Asakawa is completely mute, and Ando cannot get any response from him. But then shortly afterwards, Asakawa dies too. But yeah, in the movie they just said that Reiko died in the car accident too, and that was it. So that's for Russell. But in this movie, since Reiko wasn't dead right away, but we did see her for a little bit in the movie. I was actually kind of disappointed that they killed her off anyway.
Ah, well, ultimately, Yoichi, in his possessive state of mind, pooled the blood towards him, and then, uh, like he did with the detective in the hallway, he caused the detective pain enough to weaken him in the knees and have him like almost like crouch in pain or whatnot, or fall to the floor in pain. Uh,
Uh,
and I'm not
yes.
sure what if he killed the detective. Did he in the
Uh,
novel?
Uh, in the novel, none of that happened. In the novel, Asakawa's wife and child are dead, like in Rasen.
Okay, so Mai actually takes Yoichi on the run from the police and takes him to where the cousin of the mother actually lives. And then she has a flashback, either a flashback or a living daydream, I would call it. A live daydream.
Whew.
Because it's not exactly a flashback. She actually does see Sadako's mother as she's combing her hair in the mirror, and she does see
Oh,
Sadako. Uh,
oh, that part, yeah.
but she's also introduced to the children's limbo, and then that's when she also um, also asks who the father of uh, Yoichi really is, or
Oh,
who the father of Sadako really was. You know,
yes, yeah.
but it's
So
never
that,
exactly answered. That's another thing that I wish it could have been answered. Who the father was.
well, uh,
I know
it's
it's answered in the
commonly,
novel, but it's not answered in the movie, and the movie is an entirely separate entity.
uh, yeah, but it's commonly believed in the fandom that Sadako's biological father is this entity from the sea.
Ah, and in Greek mythology, the god of the sea was uh,
Uh, Poseidon.
Poseidon. Yeah,
That's how you say it in English. I'm sorry.
Poseidon is the name. Eventually, I wouldn't mind having us watch the TV miniseries called The Odyssey. Uh, uh, just for, but I think I know what I'll go with next, since myself. Since it kind of goes along the lines of this, I don't care if I do any Christmas movies this next month. I kind of just want to go with the flow.
Well, fair enough. I Okay, there is one Christmas movie I would kind of like to do at some point, but it's not too important.
I'm sure we can either do it in January, or they always talk about Christmas in July. So we always have that kind of stuff to look forward to. And not knowing how my job situation will look, we may or may not have to change things around. I don't know yet. So,
Whew. Well, okay, you will tell us when it happens, if it happens.
yep, I'll play things by ear and let you know ahead of time when that actually happens. But we do have the uh, experiment, the waves. I do think since it has been mentioned, eventually Yoichi and Mai end up in the well. I do kind of like whenever they put the main characters inside the well, because then it's like they experience exactly what happened to Sadako. But in this instance, we have where Yoichi's father is actually, I guess, his spirit is inside the well with them, um, and he basically, it's like he takes the curse into himself, and then has them escape the well, and then of course you see the demon-like Sadako climb after them, and he tells them to don't look back, which kind of reminds me of the story in the Bible of Lot and his wife, where they're told
Ah,
to not look back, and they're not told exactly what happens. But Lot's wife ends up looking back, and she turns
uh,
into a pillar of salt.
yes, yes, I know that story. I
So,
actually found that story kind of funny because that's all we get to know about Lot's wife. That she looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. There is absolutely nothing about her in the story before
well, the
or
whole
after
point of the
that.
story is that you should listen to what you're told to do. You know, um, you should obey. And in the Old Testament, God was a frightening God because you had to listen to him or else. You know, uh, I feel like the Old Testament God was told with a lot of anger,
Was told with
especially towards
what?
humanity. Was told with a lot of anger.
Oh,
Uh, well, we all know that all the books of the Bible were written by men that were told to write down these stories in order for that the people of Israel would remember them uh, and obey. So to me, uh, the Bible is the written word and the rules that God uh, wanted us to know these stories, and a lot of them have morals. Kind of like Aesop's fables. you
sorry,
know,
kind of like what?
Aesop's fables.
Oh, oh, I
Aesop's
understand.
fables were often uh, fairy tales that often had morals at the end, often had meaning. So
Oh
to
yeah.
me, a lot of the Bible is like parables. You know,
Who? Well, yeah, I can see why.
but in any case, that being said, the one thing that I thought that was interesting while they were in the well is once the spirit of Sadako, or the demon of Sadako, came up to them, she this was the creepy part. She was like, "Why were you the only ones that were saved?" You know,
Oh
as if
yeah.
the biggest thing was that she wanted to have been saved from the well. You know, I feel like Sadako is a very misunderstood character. She had a lot of power, and a lot of people were frightened of her power at the time, and she was very misunderstood. So she was probably mistreated by her mother and everyone around. And as we know, both of them were killed, weren't they?
Uh, her mother committed suicide. She threw herself in the volcano, and Sadako
Okay,
in
yes.
this.
She couldn't deal with the situation, and Satako, well, she was thrown in the well.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. What did you say that? Yeah, Sadako said, "Why were you the only one saved?" And what did you say? That means that she didn't want them to die or something. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant.
Well, I feel like she wanted to be saved at the end of
Oh,
everything. She wanted someone to come and save her at one point in time.
oh,
I mean, she was down there in the well for 30 years, supposedly alive. You know,
huh.
I mean, at
Yeah,
the end of everything, behind all the anger that she emitted into that visual image that eventually became the tape, you know, psychically, she made the image of her nightmares a curse. You know, the
yes.
images of her death and the people involved in her demise um, was basically the imagery that we see on the tapes. You know.
Whew. Yes. Interesting thought. Although one thing that's been puzzling me in this movie is this whole scene of Mai and Yoichi in the well with Takayama's spirit appearing and then Sadako and all that. Where exactly did that take place and how did they appear there? Like, were they
Oh, they
physically
were trying to
teleported?
climb up the wall. They were trying to climb up the wall themselves just by the rocks on the walls, but they slipped and fell to the bottom of the well, and that's where the spirit of the
Ta-
father
Takayama?
Takayama appeared, and he, in a sense, I feel like, um, in a sense, it's almost like Jesus Christ taking upon himself the sins of the world. You know, um, in a sense,
Interesting.
Takayama is like the Jesus Christ at the bottom of the well, and he's willing to take Yoichi's curse,
Uh,
a sacrificial spirit, as it were, um,
huh.
and take his curse from him so that he will be saved once he gets up from the well. And uh, 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 Sadako climbs up the well eerily and basically it puts her slimy grimy green hands around her and is like, "Why are you the only ones that to be saved?" You know,
Uh,
why could like almost the other question is, why couldn't anyone save me?
huh. Yeah, that makes sense. But the part that confuses me is how were Mai and Yoichi even transported to the well to begin with? Like, were they teleported from the pool physically to the place where Sadako died, or were they
I feel
teleported
like
to some
the
alternate dimension? Or
spiritual energy transported them to the well. It's just we were just expected to believe that they were reliving Sadako's experience, and I like that aspect of the movie because then you get to see what hell, what kind of hell she actually was in, you know. Um,
who?
although I do believe that children's limbo was connected to the bottom of the well.
Well, the well is actually the place where they were was the place where Sadako was growing up, but the well where she died is not in the same location. That's where vacation resort was built, where the
I
cursed
get
tape was
that. I get
found.
that. But I do believe that children's limbo actually is connected to the bottom of the well portrayed where they are.
Ha! Huh. Interesting.
because if you realize that children's limbo area was a cave that went uh, underneath where a surf was, and when they dropped down to the bottom of the well, that same water was swirling where that children's limbo was. So I feel like they were in the same vicinity of each other,
Ooh,
set wise.
interesting. Uh, sorry, what?
Set wise.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that later. Nice comparison, nice noticing.
But in any case, I think we are at the pretty much end because we did kind of mention this earlier. Uh, one of the main guys who was part of the film in the beginning, the reporter, he ended up in the psych ward, and I guess Spirit was in there with him.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the curse of Sadako has not entirely been killed off.
Oh, indeed. This Dr. Kawajiri and his nurse, they got electrocuted to death during the, let's call it exorcism. Hello, are you here?
Sorry,
Uh,
I was taking a sip of my soda.
uh, sorry, what were you taking?
I was sipping a drink of my soda.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I think we are now at our production. So why don't we talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
What did you think about the production?
Well, these Japanese horror movies, at least from that time period, are made in this specific style that's much different from what we are accustomed to in Hollywood and so on. But as far as this is, I would say, in accordance with what Japanese horror movies are usually like. So yeah, I don't have any issues with the production. I think it was pretty good. Okay, maybe I would say I kind of missed some scenes of Sadako coming out of TV. We did get that in the first movie, but here, whenever we could get it, we didn't get it. Like this girl Kana got killed by Sadako, and we only saw her corpse. We didn't see her death scene. Then Okazaki supposedly saw Kana coming out of a screen, but we didn't see much of that either. We only saw her face coming closer, but we didn't see it emerge from the screen. Or
Well,
sorry,
yeah.
what?
All we did was mostly see her look sideways at you, or um, look at you between braids, or look at you between the bangs of her hair. She'd tip her head, and then she'd look up, and you'd see the just her eyes or something like that. You know.
Pretty much, yeah. Uh,
I mean, you got a little bit of her crawling up out of the well, but nobody seemed to want to acknowledge any of that
uh,
shit.
sorry, which scene are you referring to?
The one in the hospital, she was crawling up out of the well. We both well know it,
Ah, pun intended.
but no, nobody wanted to admit it.
Uh, oh, you mean the staff of the hospital?
Yeah, or even my, because she said she saw the well, but she didn't mention Sadako.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But I thought the production overall was relatively decent, especially when it came to uh, the experiments. I thought the way that they presented the spiritual energy was pretty well executed. Um, as far as like I don't know how they did it, but they made the water go up on the paper, and then whenever when the doctor did it again later with the paper, Yoichi was making that paper come like towards him. Um,
Oh, oh, true. Yeah, uh, that probably did require some
camera
creativity to
trickery,
put together.
camera
Yeah,
trickery. Uh,
it did.
I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how they did that, but I'm sure there is a way. But
Definitely.
so, but yeah, the production overall, to me, was relatively decent. Execution was a little bit slow, um, but they had to tell the story from different points of views. I mean, they had to tell the reporter's story, the one that had to deal with Reiko's disappearance, and even he didn't get to see Reiko. You know, it was Mai who eventually went and saw her, and then eventually she was forced to find them for the detective. But uh, production overall was decent. I thought the well scene was pretty well executed too. I thought it was definitely eerie enough. Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, other than that, I mean, it wasn't that it was a bad movie. It was an interesting take on the whole thing, bringing it back to the original curse instead of letting it be a virus and whatnot.
Uh,
Ultimately, at the end of the day, the whole thing is that okay. Sadako just wants her story told, you know. And I thought that at the end of everything, if you told the story, you lived, you know.
phew. Well,
At least
in a way,
at least that's
yeah,
what I
in
thought.
huh. Yes, but mine never watched the tape, so she didn't have to copy it and show it to someone else.
Well, no, she wasn't part of the original victims of the tape. Um, so she was trying to stay away from it all, and was trying to make sure that everyone else was wasn't continuing the whole thing and restarting all the bullshit again. You know,
Yeah.
but she was unable to stop people from uh, watching the tape, or if they were bound and determined to do so anyways. So
Indeed.
on the reporter, well, we know what happened to him. He didn't do anything, so he's stuck with her. And that would be the girl that died,
Uh,
Katawa.
I'm sorry I had some glitch. Can you please repeat what you said?
I'm assuming that the spirit that was in there with him was Katawa.
With Okazaki?
No, well, the reporter dude.
Yeah, the one who ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, I think it was Katawa that was haunting him.
Yes, the girl who died because he said he had watched the tape but didn't.
Well, yeah. So obviously something happened to his mind in the end. So as far as music goes, I thought it was serviceable. I'm not exactly sure who did the music. Let me look.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
I have to go backwards a little bit.
Oh yes.
Going,
Soundtrack. Uh
not really a soundtrack. I'm looking more for a composer. The composer was Kenji Kawai, and I'm looking. Oh, he was the composer for IP Man, Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, and Ghost in the Shell from 2017. Okay, so he's been a composer for a lot of anime.
oh,
Code
cool.
Geass, Rose of the Recapture, Uoko, The Inner Chambers, My Name is Hero, Mob Psycho 100. Oh, Higurashi When They Cry, Go
Oh,
and Sotsu. I like that one.
oh yeah, I started watching that anime once but never finished it.
I love it. It it it, it takes different viewpoints of the stuff that happened on that island, and in different time periods. It's kind of interesting. I think I watched that one right after I watched Ghost Stories, which, as you know, is an infamous dub.
Cool.
Hmm. But let's see, what else did he do? Oh yeah, he was part of the much okay. Common Writer Build Be the One. Detective D. He was the composer of a couple of those. Ultraman Geet. A lot of the Common Rider stuff. Resident Evil Vendetta. He was the composer of. Looking looking back, Gamera, the 50th anniversary short. Wakabi Girl. Oh, he was the composer of some of Pat Labor. The Next Generation Pat Labor. I have some of that. Yep, he was the composer of Sadako 2 3D.
Oh, oh yeah.
Up 09 Re Cyborg. And then he was the composer of Sadako 3D from 2012.
Yes, that's
Okay, he
that.
was composer for some of the Gantz uh, series. He
So
was behind some of the Mobile Suit Gundam.
cool.
Oh, he's part of the Fate Stay Night stuff with which I
Wow.
just bought the Fate Stay Night stuff.
Oh, I know of that franchise. A, a guy I used to chat with online. He was a huge fan of that franchise. I ended up watching one anime of that franchise called Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works.
Oh, he was a
The,
composer of Death Note, the last name. Oh, he was a composer of anthology that I liked called Trapped Ashes. But I guess he was. Let's see. Definitely was a composer of a lot of the Ultraman stuff. But Morabito, that's another one that I actually have that I haven't watched. I got a complete series of from Jacob. Grave Master, Blood Mallory. He was a composer behind. Let's see. Oh, he was a composer behind the horror film Dark Water.
Oh, that one was based on another story by Koji Suzuki. Interesting.
Kurogane Gane Communication, Vampire Princess Mayu, Blue Seed Beyond, which means he might have been a part of Blue Seed. Hyper Police, I've heard of that one. I've got Sorcerer Hunters, which I still have to. But yeah, Blue Seed. See that. Yep, and there's some of the Pat Labor stuff again. I have to watch the entirety of that. Oh, Ranma the movie. That's a huge series.
Oh, I heard of that one.
Ranma 1.5. I've got the two movies. I don't have any of the series. Oh, he did Mermaid Forest, the composer of Rumik World. Mermaid Forest, which is a standalone movie that has to do with a series, I think. Devil Man, 2 episodes at least. Oh,
Who?
yep, he's a composer of the Ranma and a half series. Let's see, One Pound Gospel, Vampire Princess Mayu, the TV miniseries, Mobile Police, Pat Labor. See, I got a bunch of that stuff from Brandon, the Pat Labor series.
Oh, cool.
But in any case, let's go into favorite scenes and our favorite characters. I can say right away my favorite character is Mai. But what's yours?
Probably why too, since my otherwise favorite character of this franchise doesn't really appear that much in this movie.
Sadako?
I meant Takayama. Okay, we
Oh,
don't get to
Takayama?
see. Yeah. Okay, I actually like the novel version of him much better in the movies. Well, okay, he's okay, but he's not that character that I know from the books. uh, but yeah, as far as this movie goes, Y would also have to be my favorite character because of all the effort she went through to save the child.
Yeah, everybody else in here kind of pissed me off. So, well, not pissed me
Oh,
off, just bothered me because none of them would actually like give a shit about you know showing people being doing the smart thing and showing the video to other people. You know,
and
and you
uh,
gotta copy the tape yourself.
yes.
Also, we don't get any of that. Oh, okay, you can also draw things too in here. So, which
Who did that?
I think Rosin did that, where there was a journal that was kept by Takayami,
Uh, uh,
or
by
was it? No,
Asakawa.
his wife. His wife was
Ye-
Reiko.
Yeah, yeah, but Rasen is a different story from this. It's two different storylines.
I get it, but they still put it in the Ring franchise movie set, so it's part of the lore.
Well, yeah.
Any other movie is not necessarily thought of as part of it. Evidently,
Uh,
at least the original uh, adaptations of them of the
so,
story.
sorry, which one is not a part of it?
Anything that isn't Ringu, Ringu 2, Ringu 0, or Rasen.
Ah, I see.
To all who are publicly concerned, those are the ones that are the initial franchise. Anything else that is outside of these, at least to me, are skipped over or not part of it unless some uh, boutique label actually picks them up and puts them in a box set.
Well, I think the reason why the franchise was kind of revived after such a long hiatus is because Koji Suzuki's fourth book in the franchise birthday from 1999. There was this movie Ringu Zero birthday was it was loosely based on one of the stories in the book Birthday, and then for quite a while that was it. But in 2012, Suzuki also returned to writing books in that universe, and that was when he released the fifth novel titled S. And that's when they continued making movies. The movie Sadako 3D from 2012 was based on that novel S.
Well, then we
And
need to get Sadako 3D and Sadako 3D 2 in a double
uh,
feature set in order for you know
I wouldn't
for
mind.
us Ring fans to have more love of it.
Yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't mind.
All right, favorite scenes. Let's start with you.
My favorite scene. Okay, uh, the culmination scene in the well wasn't bad, but let's see. I did also like the experiment at the hospital with the images from the with images from the tape appearing on this new recording. What else? I did also like the scene of Shizuko and Sadako appearing to Mai at the Yamamura house. Uh, who, who, what else? Uh, whew, uh, well, I don't know. Okay, one scene I also found pretty badass was when Yoichi tried to kill the detective, and I kind of wouldn't have blamed him if he had succeeded after what had happened because of him.
I agree. I think my favorite scene was the scene down in the well. Not necessarily the experiment itself. I know Tammy connected with the well. I thought it was interesting that everybody died, and it seemed like they in turn were possessed by whatever spiritual force was involved. I did enjoy the fact that the body in the casket surfaced and evidently drew the cousins and the mother into the water with them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I did like the pooling blood towards Yoichi after his mother died. I did like how everyone in the psychiatric unit reacted to the incident of the one
Oh
girl.
yeah.
And whatnot. And I thought that the telekinesis between Mai and Yoichi was interesting. And I thought that the children's limbo was kind of interesting too. But my favorite scene was in the well, and what happened afterwards, where you saw the spirit of Katawa haunting the reporter dude. So, but
Phew.
at the end of everything, did you have anything else to add?
Well, I don't think so. I think I rambled enough about this movie. 2 hours.
Alrighty. Well, at the end of everything, hopefully you, ladies and gentlemen, have enjoyed our discussion on Ringu 2. Hopefully you get a chance to watch the movie and let us know what you thought about the movie, what you thought about our discussion, and let us know down below. In any case, like, share, and subscribe. Next week, we'll be going on about Cyrano, and we'll see you next time here on Delusions of Grandeur.
Oh
Everyone say
yeah.
goodnight.
Good night.
All right. Night, night, everyone. Sleep tight. Don't let the Ringu bite.
Oh, nice one.